Good night, everybody. My name is Manuel Bispo. I'm from the NECAFLA, the Center of Studies, Spiritual Studies here in Brussels. And tonight, I'm glad to introduce you our uh, speaker, lecturer, Karen. Karen, good night. How are you, Karen, tonight?
Hi, Bispo. Good evening. Very well. Glad.
We are neighbors here in Brussels. Huh? We are neighbors. Huh?
I think if you open the window, we could just.
No, we cannot go out. Huh? We are still in COVID. And Karen, what the topic tonight, Karen? What you are going to give us the pleasure and the honor?
Yeah, the idea was to reflect a bit about the concept of charity.
Charity.
The way that the Spiritist teachings explain it to us, what it actually entails, and why it is so important for all of us, and why it is given so much attention in the Spiritist teachings. Yes. So yeah, a huge topic, but trying to briefly reflect.
Yeah. I think the message is important, Karen, because hey, charity, okay, is a PayPal, just a PayPal, it's okay. Charity is money, is materialism. That's a good message for tonight. So, Karen, what I propose you is to let's just to concentrate a little bit. We make a short prayer, and then I give you the floor. Okay. Okay. So let's breathe calmly. Thanks. I concentrate in connecting with God, our Father, with Jesus Christ, the governor of this planet, just to thank the day of today and this opportunity to be here, to listen to this message, and to be inspired to our daily practice for our inner transformation. We ask, very humble, our spiritual friends to be around us, to inspire us, and to support us. Thank you very much. Amen. So, Karen, please, I give you the floor, and I'll be here.
Okay, thank you very much, Bispo, and hello, everybody. Perhaps just before I start, the idea is that I will reflect a bit about this topic for about 20 minutes, and then later on we will have a chat about it with Bispo, but we would also very much welcome your comments. If you would like to comment something, we would very much welcome that, and then reflect together with all of you, because it's a topic that we all need to study a lot. And I'm not talking from the perspective of someone who has the moral authority to talk about it and to teach about charity, but someone who's trying to learn about it every day, as all of us. So a few years ago, I saw a video on YouTube that afterwards I've watched several times, because I find that very relevant for this topic, and also very touching. It is called "If We Could See Inside Others' Hearts." If someone would like to see it, it's about 4.5 minutes. And it shows actually scenes in a hospital where you see people going in and out and walking through the corridors. And what is special about it is that you can see that it's written what is actually going on in their lives. Why is someone looking so sad, or someone smiling? Because you see that there's a young man who just learned that he is going to be a father. Then next to him in the elevator, you see a lady who's recently divorced and obviously not that happy. And so it goes on. You see, for example, a gentleman who's just entering the hospital and being brought to make an exam that he has tried to postpone because he was afraid of the result, and so on. And it really touches the heart if you see, well, it's simple information which goes on, which happens to so many people, but you actually see, everyone, all of us have our struggles, have our sufferings, and obviously also our joyful moments and positive events going on in our lives. But this video, what is so special is that makes us aware that we're all human beings, and no matter how people, look like or how they behave, there might be so much going on behind it, and that caused this behavior. And if we would always be conscious of that, and if we would look at the others that way, assuming that just as us, they have their struggles, they have their difficulties, we would be so much more understanding, we would be so much more compassionate, and we would not judge others from our point of view as we very often do. And also, I think we would also forgive much easier if someone doesn't treat us the way we would have expected, or even hurts us without having the intention to. If we knew that if someone has just thought about something that really it challenges them or is difficult for them, and that's why they're not too concentrated facing us, then we would forgive much easier. If we had to forgive at all, right? If we had more understanding towards the position of the other side, perhaps we wouldn't feel offended in the first place, and then we would not have to forgive at all. And perhaps we would even want to help someone if we could, if we just knew what was going on with them. But very often we tend to rather focus on our own situation and forget that a bit when we have our day-to-day contacts. And that also, it's obviously not a new concept. It reminds me, for example, of the golden rule, which just has existed for centuries and centuries. Do to others what we would have them to do to us, right? If we would just use this golden rule as our guidance in our day-to-day life, there wouldn't be too much to worry about, and we would certainly think twice before we act. So going on from that, so being benevolent, being kind, being compassionate, being humble, all these are aspects of charity, as Allan Kardec explains this to us in the Gospel according to Spiritism, which dedicates a whole chapter. Actually, the whole Gospel is dedicated to that topic, but then there's one which focuses on charity, especially chapter 15, which is called "Without Charity There Is No Salvation." And you might have heard the sentence before. It's very well known, right, between students of the Spiritist teachings. Without charity, there is no salvation. And a bit later on, we come back to that. But I would just like to start with a very short part of that, because it's a very long chapter, and it merits to be studied thoroughly and studied over and over again. What Allan Kardec explains us in the beginning is that actually all the moral teachings of Christ are resumed in the need for charity and humility. As he says, these are the two virtues that are contrary to selfishness and pride. In all of his teachings, Jesus indicates these two virtues as being the ones that lead to eternal happiness. And later on, he comes back to this concept of eternal happiness again, because he said, Jesus put it very clear and in explicit terms that charity is the only condition for future happiness. The only condition for future happiness. It's not just one of many options or a nice recommendation, but he places it very clear that's the only condition for future happiness. And when we talk about future happiness, we take this as the starting point, what we learn in the Spiritist teachings, that we do not have only this one existence, but that we are immortal spirits who are on our pathway to evolve, to progress. And so this is so we are here for a reason. We're not just here to and enjoy life to the fullest, but we're here for a very serious reason, namely to progress as an immortal spirit who has taken on this material body temporarily in order to progress, in order to learn, to develop our intelligence and also our virtues. As the spirit Emmanuel says in the book Living Spring, he summarizes that very beautifully. We are here, we are born and reborn to learn and to love. We are born and reborn to learn and to love. So that's the purpose behind it. And in this learning process, the virtue of charity is key. As we heard before, it is the only condition for future happiness. It takes a long time, and as if you look at ourselves and the struggles that we go through, we realize that we still have a lot to learn on that field. Well, at least I have, and everyone will have to analyze that themselves. Perhaps to make it clear what actually the Spiritist teachings tell us about charity, what it actually is. We can find a definition in the Spirit's book in question 886, where Allan Kardec asks, what is the true meaning of the word charity as Jesus understood it? And the high order spirits answer, benevolence to everyone with tolerance for the imperfections of others and forgiveness of offenses. So benevolence to everyone, tolerance for the imperfections of others and forgiveness of offenses.
Karen, seems very easy, Karen, but it's very powerful. This as you said, the key when you talk about charity, this kind of, as you said, to see inside the other's heart, to be in the place of the people, compassion, and the tolerance. I think this is the key. That's the key for today, and more this time. It's really powerful. Yeah. Good. Thank you. Yeah, very
Absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
Let you.
No, absolutely.
I was here, and when you talk about this, come on, yeah. Seeing this part, this explanation seems very, let's say, simple.
It seems simple.
Or to practice, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and just to be really on the safe side, on the next question, 887, Alain Kardec and adds, he said, well, Jesus also said, love even your enemies. But isn't loving our enemies contrary to our natural tendencies? And doesn't antagonism derive from a lack of sympathy between spirits? And the higher order spirits reply, undoubtedly, one cannot feel tender and passionate affection for one's enemies. That is not what Jesus meant. To love one's enemies is to forgive them and to return good for evil. I think that is very important to point it out, and I actually do not really like the word or to use it nowadays, enemies, but perhaps rather, people that we still don't feel that much affection for and still need to learn.
Karen, we have a question here from Joaquin. What is easier, to make charity or to be the object of charity? What do you think?
Yeah, there he leaves me. Is it easier to be charitable than to be the object of charity? I absolutely agree with you, Joaquin. Pride and humbleness do play a big role to receive charity and to acknowledge that we are in need of that, and to be charitable. And perhaps to answer, I will go a bit forward, because in Leon Denis, in his book After Death, Après la mort, he reflects also about this topic, and perhaps this can answer also the question a bit. So he also dedicates the whole chapter to charity, and refers actually to both the Spirit's book and or what Allan Kardec collected there, and also in what we find in the Gospel according to Spiritism. And he reiterates that, first of all, about the sentence that I mentioned before: without charity there is no salvation. So he said that instead of placing any kind of religion or any kind of belief system as a condition for salvation, Allan Kardec placed that sentence, without charity there is no salvation, as a banner for his works. So that's very clear. Rather than saying you have to believe in this and that concept or be a member of this and that religion, what really counts, what really matters, is your attitude and is your action. That needs to be charitable. It doesn't matter what you believe in. And the Spirits teach us that charity is really the virtue par excellence. That's the one that comprises all the others. So it would be as simple as that. If you would learn to be charitable, then yeah, you would probably not be here at that moment in this learning process. But this is why we are here, in order to learn step by step. And then he reflects, Leon Denis reflects about the question why we are often struggling with these ideals to love one another, to be charitable. And he questions, actually, is that perhaps because we only consider the negative side of people, their shortcomings, their passions, their weaknesses, and that we very often forget that we are not perfect either. As he says, and this is actually also part of the reply to question 886 in the Spirit's book, if others need charitable attitudes from our side, don't we also need their indulgence, their comprehensions the same way? Because we're not perfect either. We commit mistakes, and we may do a lot of things that are not easy for others to take, but we're not even aware of that. We need tolerance as well. We need compassion as well. And he goes on that, of course, everyone has also their positive qualities, but often we do not focus on those, depending on who it is. And above all, everyone has their struggles, as you saw, or not. You didn't see it in the video, but the video that I mentioned in the very beginning that actually points out for every person what kind of struggles they're going through. And then he recommends us, if we really want to be charitable, we should refrain from considerations about others. We should not try and judge them and from our perspective without really knowing their background, knowing why they act in a certain way. Leon Denis recommends us we should not see in the other person anything different than a companion in trial or a brother or sister in the fight for life. Just here as we are, in order to learn, in order to progress, but with all the struggles that one might have, and with all the difficulties. So that's basically also what he points to, that everyone has their struggles, their challenges, their sufferings. So we're all in the same boat. And if we considered the others in this light, it would be so much easier to develop sympathy. And it would also make us feel so much better in our day-to-day relations, be it in the family, be it at work, with friends. It would make us feel so much better than any negative thoughts that we might have towards someone. And it also creates a completely different energy. So that's something that we learn also when we study the Spiritist teachings, that everything we send out, our vibrations, our thoughts, these are energy. And for example, the spirit of André Louis, he describes this in his books. If we send out a thought, depending on the vibration, it has a certain wavelength. And depending on what wavelength we vibrate, we attract energy of others who vibrate on the same level. So, and if you send some positive thoughts out, that they will return to us even more positive, and the same for negative thoughts. They will add all the similar energy that we had sent out, and they all return to us at some stage. So this is why, of course, and we all know that, right? If we can't really come to peace because we are thinking about someone who has harmed us somehow, and we cannot stop thinking about it. As long as we cannot overcome the situation, we do not feel well because we are not at peace. So it's something that we need to learn for our future happiness, but also for our immediate happiness, right? To really try and find peace. And then he continues, Leon Denis continues in his chapter about charity and reflects about material charity, which of course is also extremely valid if you are in a position to help someone who's in need. But today, as the time is limited, I prefer to reflect about moral charity, because I think on material charity, much has been said, but the moral part of charity is even more complex, I think. And Leon Denis says actually that material charity can be applied to a certain amount of our fellow beings, depending on our condition. Moral charity should comprise all that are part of our existence in this world. All. So that's a benevolence that should embrace all humans. Yeah, we can only applaud. That's Leon Denis. That's not my idea. Yeah.
Nice. Very, very good. Very good. Thank you. Yeah.
Fully, yeah. And it's another book that we can only recommend. All the books by Leon Denis. So yeah, he continues that, saying that true charity is patient, is indulgent, it's tolerant, and it does not get offended. So this is where we hopefully get to one day. And as he also mentions, it is still a very rare virtue to find, because a certain amount of selfishness often leads us to observe, to criticize the shortcomings of others without first becoming aware of our own shortcomings. Because it's much easier to point fingers to others, right, than acknowledging, oh, yeah, I might actually have a very similar weakness. So he's very clearly on the knee. We do not have the right to condemn in others the faults that exist within ourselves as well. And as he says, there are only very few people who would not have any negative habits to be corrected or any capricious impulses to be modified. So all of us have these weaknesses. So as he summarizes it, let's be more ready to excuse than to censure others. And that's when we talk about the way how we see others and how we see ourselves. So kind of recognizing perhaps that we need to work on ourselves as well, and that we're not perfect either. I think self-knowledge is key. Is very important, that we really do a thorough, honest analysis of our weaknesses, not only weaknesses, also of our strength. It's not to criticize us all the time, but really to also recognize which strengths do we already have, and where do we really need to work still. And what I like very much in this about this topic of self-knowledge and how we get there is what we find in the Spirit's book in question 919. It's a text where the Spirit of St. Augustine explains us what he did in order to get to know himself. So every evening, and he recommends us for all of us that we would every evening take a few minutes in order to reflect what has happened that day, what went right, where did we not behave the way we wanted to, and also to really focus on what still can be improved in order to help us, but also to see what went right. And that's something that all of us have to do ourselves. So no one can, of course, people can point to our strengths and weaknesses and can help us in that, but we also have to be very honest with us. And I think that's a very long process that needs a lot of work, but we need to do it. And once we get to know ourselves better, then perhaps it's also easier for us to be patient towards others and to forgive mistakes that in former times you might have condemned, because it's easy to say that's wrong rather than saying, oh yeah, might have a similar tendency.
Sorry.
No problem.
Yes. Let me show this one. This one is wonderful. This this it summarize this kind of mindset we should follow in the say we talk always is money, I don't have money, the guys don't know how to use the money, or material is important for a not for as a group of people here with some autonomous in this life, but really is the moral charity, as you said, the virtue we should behave and use it. The compassion, and you say no salvation. In fact, is our inner transformation. This is the salvation, right, Karen? But say what salvation?
Exactly. Yeah, that can
So
be.
what is going to save us? No, it's our inner change, our inner transformation in this very big school that is our planet and this life.
Yeah, if we try to understand it more, the concept of future happiness and salvation, if you like, one of the basic principles of the Spiritist teachings is the law of action and reaction. And just as nowadays we live the consequences of our past actions, action and reaction, or cause and effect, the same way we are building our future now with whatever we do. So if step by step we really put an effort into trying to be more, and if you don't like the word charity, we can use the word kindness, trying to be more kind towards others in so many different ways. That will then of course these will be more positive actions that will then really prepare for us a better situation in the future. But it's a long way. It is. I'm not saying that we study the chapter in the gospel and then the next day we're all very charitable. We all know I think we all agree on the theory and know how urgently necessary it is, but it is a long process, and it is a process that requires really a constant effort.
Practice
Day to day.
every day. Yeah, because when you say I know then when you are talking, it was to see the other as a companion in the fight of life. So this compassion to see the other in the same, let's say we are in the same planet, in the same ship. We are together. The difference we say one is rich, other is poor, one is powerful, other not. Forget it. We are in the same fight to our transformation here. Different tests, different autonomies, but we are together. And this way, as you said, Karen, is to see the other as a companion. Hey, guy, we are together here. How to do this, Karen? How to do this? How to?
Exactly. In the last item of this chapter 15 in the Gospel, it is a message by Paul the Apostle, who talks about exactly this topic. Without charity, there is no salvation. And this is actually the sentence Allan Kardec it came to this conclusion in his explanations in chapter 15. So this is where it comes from. So what Paul recommends to us, he says, submit all your activities to be administered by charity. Submit all your activities to be administered by charity, and your conscience will respond. And then later on, he explains us it's not basically nothing easy, but it is what we need is the action of willpower. We really have to decide, and we have to want it, and it is a constant effort. It's really everything we do. If you were first to ask ourselves,
Karen, Paul, the messages are I was reading this weekend. I told you I was reading the Paul and Stephen, no? And it's amazing, amazing the transformation, no? The Paul's transformation, and when the first thing he saw was from the disciples of Jesus is the charity, the difference. It was the first thing he said. Yes, we are, but they do a very simple charity, material, moral, but it's really, really the after he started all the messages like this, using this. I had also this image. They when they describe the first shock of Paul, Saulo, at that time, when he saw the example of charity came from Jesus. Yes, just to say, the book is after death, from
Mhm.
Léon Denis, après la mort, c'est ça?
Yeah.
Après,
Yeah, absolutely.
nice,
Yeah,
nice.
but it has been translated into English.
Ah, okay.
I think it should be available on Amazon. It has been published in the US. After Death, it's really called After Death.
In Léon Denis, okay, good.
Mhm.
So charity is key. Charity is a virtue. Huh? And is the let's say the only condition of future transformation and happiness. Let's call it happiness, but it's another level of energy we should go. We all go, I'm sure, but it's hard. Huh? Joaquin is listening to us. Huh? Very hard, Joaquin.
But it's really, I think, for example, the golden rule:
Yeah,
do to the other person that what you would like to receive if you were in their position. If we would really ask ourselves this question, it would help us to, I think, avoid a lot of negative energy that we might not even voice it out, but we could. How often do we just struggle with our negative thoughts? It's a long process. So no
it's
one
a
should.
it's a continuous exercise.
Yeah.
I think it's the first one to in the small things with your family, with the I don't know 30
Yeah.
people with that you meet, but that's the reason we are here. That's the reason we are in this family. We are, etc., etc., etc. So, okay, Karen. So I let you again. I don't know if you want to conclude.
Yeah, and charity within the family. Now that you mentioned it, there's also a message by the Spirit of Emmanuel in this book. That's one I have here. Our Daily Bread, which
Our Daily
contains lots of interesting
Our Daily Bread. No, yeah,
uplifting messages,
good message.
where he talks exactly about that, a topic of charity and the special obligation that we have to display kindness towards those that we live with. Or as he said, let us display kindness towards all those who have been entrusted to us for the lessons of each day, whom the Master has entrusted to us for the lessons of each day. Yeah, and our family members, and we all know that no one has been born into a certain family by chance. So there's always a reason behind that, and lessons we need to learn together. And yeah, our family members also need to tolerate us. I think if we remembered that every now and then, it could help us.
Yeah, it's the first test we have. When we were born, we meet our brothers and sisters and mother and father, all the family. Is the first one, and then it increase. We have thanks God we have the opportunity to meet all the people we need to let's say to practice the charity and be and of course as Joaquin said to be the let's say the to receive the charity also, to be humble, to be very let's say with the calm, to receive without pride, to receive also charity from the others. mainly the moral charity.
Absolutely. And perhaps closing with again with what you found in the message by Paul. It, and you mentioned it in the very beginning that charity is something so important when you think about humanity's situation at the moment, and many of us are really worrying how the future may be with so many things happening, and we realize that planning ahead is sometimes a bit difficult. What Paul tells us is when we take this as our motto, without charity, there's no salvation.
Yes.
He says humanity will never go astray if it takes this as its guide. And humanity is all of us, right? So
Yes.
it's easy to say the others, yeah.
No, it's exactly.
But we're all part of that, yeah. So it's
Okay.
so it's something
Good.
work for every day.
Noted. Noted.
Well, not for you, for all of us.
Yeah. That's there is more is I say simple message, very powerful, and we need to note too in each moment that you say stop, don't talk, breathe, receive, and so on. That's the exercise for the future years that is coming. Right, Karen. Next events coming in this planet, we have to be prepared because it's sure to be the main task for all human being now. It starts with us. Okay, Karen.
Okay.
I let you to make. I follow you here.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you very
Thank
much for
you.
your talk. It's really very well the guide to understand it is moral. For me, the more this that you put the quote from Leon Denis, very important. Okay, I let you again.
Thank you so much also for moderating this evening. So that was very nice to exchange with you. And I just see Joaquin put one comment that I try to place here because I think that is a a very nice way to finish that topic. Well, finish not because it will never finish, but this evening's exchange. So I've never met an unhappy charitable person. I'm absolutely sure of that. So thank you very much, Joaquin, and everyone else, Christina. Um, thank you, and Curie. Perhaps Bispo, you can help me if I'm
Yeah.
not
It's my friend
pronouncing his name correctly.
It's Kuri.
Curie.
I don't know if
Okay.
he's still there, but Kuri,
Thank you very much for joining.
charity, no money, but
Oh,
okay.
so great. Thank you very much, everyone.
Sorry.
So let's calm down and be grateful for these opportunities that we have to exchange about these topics, to study together, because as we mentioned before, it is not just agreeing on the theory, but the most important part is practicing. Very grateful to God, to our mentors for the inspiration, for the opportunity to reflect a bit more about this so important topic for all of us. And maybe all take these teachings as a guide and try to remember them more often when we interact with others, trying to step by step become more compassionate, more tolerant towards the imperfections that we all have. May we all have a good week, and may all of those who are struggling at this moment find hope and all the support possible. So be it. Okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you very much.
I will now wave out of the window to see you.
Yeah, very good. Good night. Until the next one.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.